So this is our brand new show. This is Press Start. We will be talking video games all the way through this new show. So I'm your host Heather, as always, and joining me as player 2 today is Rhys. Hi, Rhys.
Hello. Hello.
Thank you for joining us, and the stress of being our first ever guest.
I didn't know I was the first guest, so that's really thrown me for a loop already, but I'm sure I'll be fine.
You will be fine. Yeah, definitely. So, Rhys, tell us a little about you and your gaming style.
So I'm Rhys. I'm a writer for JumpCut Online, and I write for JumpCut Play, and I'm also a part-time host over at JumpCast as well, which you obviously know as you've been on our quiz over the last few weeks.
I do.
And I was thinking about this earlier, actually. My gaming style is I'm not very sentimental in the sense that I can see my PS4 collection. I've got 5 games.
Wow.
And that's it. I tend to
You've
play games and move on.
You've had your PS4 for like a week or
3-4 years.
That's insane.
I tend to kind of get games, I play them, and then I trade it and then get new games.
Nice.
So I've played loads, but yeah, I just don't. There are some games I've kept. Like I've kept, spoilers for today's episode, I've kept Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah. I've kept Overwatch. But there's other games like Arkham, the trilogy. I absolutely adore all the Arkham games. Yeah. They are now gone. I haven't got them anymore. I'm just a very ruthless gaming owner.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I do love games in all their forms. They just don't really kind of have much sentimental value for them, you know?
Yeah. We are the exact opposite. I have my PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 and all of the games that I had with them still.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I know. I've gone between the consoles. I started with PS1, then PS2, then 360, now I'm PS4. And I think at home I might have my 360 games still, actually. I don't think I traded those in.
Yeah, that's a really
interesting, I've got some value there.
That's a really interesting sort of progression, because I went from PS1 to PS2 to Xbox and then went backwards to PlayStation 3 and then got a PS4. Right. So we I think there was a big point where I think a lot of people went from a PlayStation to like a 360 versus a PS3.
Yeah, because I remember when the PS3 came out, there was a big problem with, I think, how much it cost, wasn't it? That was one of the big sticking points where people saw the 360 as a much more viable next-gen console at the time. And I think my parents were the same. They were like, we'll get a 360 because it's cheaper.
Yeah, and I don't think anywhere near as many games either. I think there are a couple of big launch titles, I think, like Little Big Planet and things like that.
That was about it, really, wasn't it? And I was never into it. And then all my friends were like, all they do is play FIFA on the Xbox 360. Yeah. So I was like, I've got to get a 360, because that's where all my friends are. So. Yeah.
I was getting it so I could play COD.
Which one?
Modern Warfare 2, I think.
I had Modern Warfare 1, and that was good.
I wonder if I had one. I skipped World at War, like the very first World at War, and then sort of got stuck straight in. So I wonder if I did do number 1. But my main standout is number 2, and then
that's fair.
Yeah.
I never played COD apart from Modern Warfare 1, just because I grew up in a very kind of strict household on that front. Like my mum didn't like us playing shooters at all. Yeah. So GTA, Call of Duty, none of that was in my house at all.
Yeah. So I was not allowed to do any sort of games that weren't Spyro or like Hercules for like a long time.
Yeah. And then even then, I remember once I was kind of on crutches for about 3 months after a knee operation. And my mum was like, I'll get you some games to kind of pass the time. And one of them was Ratchet and Clank, Ratchet Gladiator, I think. And even that's an age rating 7, and it's about a little alien wombat thing. But because it shoots, my mum was like, you can't play this. I'm like, Mum, it's for
kids. Was this last week as well?
Yeah, I'm only just coming over the bump of having to play shooter games now, which is I'm discovering all these new games I've missed out on.
Yeah, I keep going through a lot of horror games, and I've been like, no, I've never played this, because when they came out, I was of an age that my parents had to say on what games we were playing, and at no point would they have let me play Silent Hill or Resident Evil. It would have been absolutely no.
Well, I'm also just fundamentally terrible at horror games because I get really scared.
Yeah.
So nice. One of my favorite games ever is BioShock 1.
Yeah.
And that game really scares me. And then I tried to play Alien Isolation a few years ago. I have not completed it because I could only play it for about 20 minutes at a time before I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm too scared.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I like that though. That's good. We did, I was planning on all this time in lockdown, finally doing a big stream of Resi 7 in the VR because it's meant to be like a horrendous experience. So I was like, yeah, this will be the time. I'm setting in to do it for ages. We were going to do it for Halloween. Thought I'll do it now. I've done the game normally. It's fine. Some horrid bits, some very, very silly bits. And then I was 20 minutes in the helmet and I got so motion sick that it had to come off before I'd even got through the front gates.
That is heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking because I want to hit that like ultimate horror level, but I just like physically, I was like, take it off. I'm like sweating. I was like, I'm nauseous. So I'm gonna take it off. I can't cope. So one day we will bring the ultimate fear and do that. But
yeah, you need to. Once like VR is now at a point when it's much less like headachy, I think. So maybe
I think
now.
Well, maybe. I'm hoping that it'll just be something I can get used to, and I'll just do like little bits at a time because there's a huge like VR place. I'm not even sure what you call it. It's a big place you can go to near me where you can just sort of take your mates, take some beers, and go on all the little rigs. And they've got like Tron bikes and stuff, and they look really cool.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it looks legit.
I know there was a place in Nottingham that I went to with my friend from uni, Max, and it was like that. It was like a gaming cafe basically, and they had one Oculus set. You had to like book out half an hour or whatever. Yeah. But that was the first time I'd experienced VR, and it blew my head off. It was just amazing. It's just so much fun and so like satisfying to play. Like it just feels like, you know, like tactile, and it's really good.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how it develops. But I think I'll always prefer sitting down and eating snacks and playing games.
Yeah, me too.
Then like running on a big gyro with like all sorts of stuff going on. The big rig.
I couldn't do that. I could not do that. I've got videos of me like, at my friend's house because he's got PSVR, and I just look like an absolute fool. Like you can't look cool playing VR.
No one looks cool playing VR. No, it's like going to a silent disco. Like you might be having fun, but everybody looks like an idiot.
Yeah, I know. It's like they're watching the game, and it's like, oh, the game is cool, but they're having more fun watching me look like I'm having a time of my life. I'm actually just like really concerned about punching my friend in the face at the same time, you know?
Yeah. Oh, there's been smashed light bulbs in my house as a result of the VR, countless times. So we went off on a little tangent, but today we're going to be talking about Spider-Man for the PS4. Yes. So we've both played. We had a little chat before the show about how much we enjoy it, and it would be a good game to have a little chat about. So what were your sort of first thoughts when you loaded up Spider-Man?
It was like I was transported back to 2004 when I was playing Spider-Man 2 on the PS2.
Yes, that was my exact thought. Yeah.
It was one of those things where when you kind of jump out of his bedroom window, and then it's the whole like cinematic, and you think, all right, it's going to pause and load up, and I'll play the game. Yeah. But then it jumps seamlessly into you flying to the city. You're like,
and then you hit the floor straight away, and you're like, oh, I'm meant to be swinging. It's not just.
Yeah, I was like, okay, how do I swing? Oh god. Yeah. But I just remember instantly, as soon as I turned it on, I was like, I'm going to love this game. I thought it was amazing, and I thought what was quite nice about it is the fact that in that first Fisk section, there were lots of little kind of quick time events, and I was like, I don't want too many quick time events in my game. But then after that, they are very, very, very limited in how many times you have a quick time event. So I was very grateful that they kind of let you get into the game slowly, and then they kind of let you off and explore on your own terms. And I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, it is something else. I think, like you say, the seamless leap from watching the cinematic opening to out the window, and then there is no loading. There's no right now it's your turn to go. If you don't go, you're gonna hit the floor. And then I think one of the really special things about the whole game is the movement through the city and the webbing and the swinging. I mean, I don't think I use fast travel more than like twice just because it was fun to see the people on the subway.
Yeah.
So for people who haven't played, if you fast travel, you get a little loading screen of you on the underground or the subway with different people. Sometimes I think there's like a fellow Spider-Man cosplayer at one point. Someone's just jamming to some music. Like, they're all really nice, considered little animations. They're really good, like, just to watch anyway. Like, they're really nice to like it. I was like, okay, I'll go to take the subway just to enjoy this little cutscene.
I was like, I read about that because I think I saw on Reddit, it was like, after you've played this mission with that doppelganger Spider-Man, you can next time load up, you'll meet him in the subway. And I was like, I've got to do that just to see what it's like.
I think it's after the Halloween party where you get to see like, there's like hundreds of other Spider-Men, and there's like a couple of Mysterios, and there's the Rhino, and I like how much it is a good mission. I like the party. The first time I did, because I recently went back and went through and did all the trophy hunt and picked up every single little bit and bob. So it was really fun to go back, and I didn't feel like it was a chore at any point, really. But one of the highlights was the Halloween party, because now that like Far From Home's come out as well, there's Mysterio with this big fish bowl on, and there's like, you get to see all these other characters that, like, I think even if you don't know the comics, that you can like really appreciate their designs of as well.
Yeah. And I think also, because as someone who, my Spider-Man history is pretty much exclusively the games and the films, like, there were still things for me that I was like, oh, that's the Green Goblin. Oh, like, I still noticed references that I would pick up. And then I'm sure there were people who are comic book nerds would be like freaking out about, because it's this one specific reference to a comic book from the 90s, you know?
Yeah, they go really deep with a lot of their references. I know I googled quite a few to see where they fit in, and sort of like who was who. And I think that's really nice, because it's almost different layers for different types of fans there, that like, I think is one of the things that made the game really work.
Yeah, it really did as well. I remember I follow this guy Jonathan on Twitter, and he was kind of documenting his son playing it, because like, he'd completed it and then he let him go off and play it as well. And like, he was experiencing it again through this kid who's like, what, 8 years old, and it was as fun for him at the age of 30 plus as it is for his small child, which is just so cool. It's such a well-designed game that it works for everyone who plays it.
And I think there's something quite sort of, I don't want to say necessarily family friendly, because like, you do kick a lot of ass, but there's no you know, there's no bloodshed, there's no sort of like, there's no gore, there's no real like hyper violence. It almost is like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man of like the cartoons of, like, you know, like the Saturday morning cartoons type Spider-Man. Like, I'm glad
I do like as well.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I like what you said about no bloodshed. The fact that you can kick someone off a building and you can see them get like webs to the building before they hit the ground, and they're like, that's a detail that they didn't have to include, but they knew that, well, like, people will be checking that, and they put it in, and that was, you know, made it so, you know, family friendly, which I really liked.
And he sort of quite often reminds us all the way through that he takes a non-lethal approach. I think it's with the last DLC, the Silver Lining DLC. He sort of reminds Sable a lot that it's not, you know, he's not trying to kill anyone. These people have to be arrested and go through all the proper channels, and I think that's nice. And as much as, you know, we're saying there is no violence, some of those people are not recovering from being kicked in the face at like 50 miles an hour.
This severe brain damage is happening.
And I don't think Peter Parker, who can't pay his rent, is going to be paying their hospital bills, because it is America as well. And I don't think Fisk has got like a very good health plan. Like,
he doesn't take care of his henchmen very well, I'm sure.
No, definitely not. So out of the storylines, then, we talked a little bit about the mission at the Halloween party. Which one would you say was your favourite mission?
I was thinking about this a lot, because there's lots of great moments. I really liked how the Doc Ock storyline unfolded, just because even anyone who knows Spider-Man knows what's going to happen in that storyline. It was always pretty obvious, but they executed it really, really well. So I really liked the relationship unfolding, and then you actually felt like, even though you knew it was coming, you understood that Peter in the game is actually heartbroken at his boss and mentor, is the guy who was behind this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say my favorite mission was probably the Rikers Island breakout thing.
Yeah.
Which was like absolutely spectacular to play through.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things where you had to first off break up a riot on the island and then fly through the whole prison as it was falling down around you.
Yeah.
While the Sinister Six are all escaping. And I remember that was so kind of like overwhelming to play through that I couldn't really kind of take it all in.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to kind of play it again a few months later. And I was just like, this is an amazingly designed set piece. And I realized that lots of it is pretty, on rails. But still, just to experience that part of the story was really, really satisfying and really fun. And I've watched it on YouTube afterwards, just like from random people playing it. I just think it's an amazing sequence.
Yeah, I think like we've said about the sort of swinging and getting around the city, but actually navigating through the buildings as well is really satisfying.
Yeah. Oh, God,
like when he sort of like whips between two like falling beams, you're like, yeah, I am a nimble little Spider-Man. Like this is awesome.
Yeah. I really liked like those bits when you're flying around the city and then you pull yourself through the tubes. They're like hanging down from the constructions.
Yeah,
like,
the
that
water
just
towers.
looks really satisfying. Yeah.
I got so
those.
many like photo mode photographs of him just like doing a little twizz through a pipe or through a water tower. I think
the amount of time I spent in the photo mode, by the way, was embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I think one of the really nice features about that game was how dedicated like the sort of inclusion of the photo mode was, with like the different stickers and the fact that you could make it look like a magazine and newspaper and stuff. And I thought that was really like a really nice addition that they didn't necessarily have to put in. Like it could have just been, completely ignored, especially with just being able to take screenshots whenever you like. I love
it was amazing. It was the first time I'd ever been into a photo mode in a game before. And it was just because it felt like everything you were doing was cinematic in any kind of way.
Yeah,
like,
it's really worth taking a picture of.
There was one animation when you were swinging around. I think it's when you swing around a corner. And it's a point when he kind of pulls his web between his legs slightly and like kicks out. I spent, I'm going to say, upwards of 2 hours trying to get the picture of that moment.
Yeah.
I never got it. I know. But it was still really fun to get it done, just because I just really enjoyed swinging around and finding the great spot and then like change the lighting and like move into like when you could pick the time of day, making it always dusk, because dusk is the best one. And just making it look cool, and I just loved it. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
And I know that like my photos I took were very basic compared to like, I know Tom Cyberchef, he took some amazing photos in Spider-Man photo mode, and mine have not got a patch on what he did. But I was like, I'm still doing it. This is still me.
Yeah, definitely. You're still a little video game photographer. It's fine.
Exactly.
Even Peter had to start somewhere taking photos, so
He did, and it's made me want to explore photo modes in other games. Like I know Death Stranding recently came out with an update for photo mode, and I'd be like, I'll try that out at some point.
I'm looking forward to doing that. I haven't gone back to Death Stranding recently because I've been trophy hunting through different things, but I'm looking forward to doing that with the photo mode, because that game is ludicrous in how good that looks.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Every time I turn it on, I'm like, why have I ever looked at anything else? Why do I put my eyes on these peasants when I can just look at that instead?
I remember I was stunned when I went up to the snowy mountains, and then it was my first ever experience of a blizzard in Death Stranding. Oh my God, that blew my head off, because I was like I was actually in the snow. Which sounds really corny, but it did feel so real.
Yeah, I can appreciate. Like you're when even just getting like rained on, I'm like, God's sake, we're getting damp. We need to hurry up.
Yeah. They're also getting very old at the same time.
Yeah. I completely lost my train of thought thinking about Death Stranding.
Death Stranding.
No, it's totally fine.
Too good.
It actually gives us a very nice segue. Talking about photo mode. Because another one that is amazing is Uncharted. I'd spent a lot of time in photo mode in Lost Legacy, which is particularly beautiful because it's all based in India and in the sort of big ruins and in the cities and things like that. And it looks amazing.
Yeah.
And you'll see where I'm going with this. Nadine Ross is voiced by Laura Bailey, who also voices Mary Jane.
That is a segue. I really like that.
So, yeah. So Laura Bailey is our MJ. What did you think of this version of Mary Jane?
I really liked MJ. I think the less said about her missions, the better.
Yeah, they're really boring.
They were so boring.
Yeah.
But
and
I think her as a character.
She was an investigative journalist, and she was always sneaking, but she had the loudest shoes anyone has ever worn.
Heels all the time.
Right?
Yeah.
You would put on the softest pair of like Vans or something, or even barefoot, so you could like creep around. Yeah. Oh my gosh, so many times, especially in the DLC, because you play a lot more missions with her in the heist.
Yeah.
I was fuming because she would be so angry that we'd got involved to save her life because she'd got herself kidnapped by terrorists.
Mm-hmm. And it was just, loudness was the big issue. Like, I realised stealth in games is difficult to do.
Yes.
But there were points when I was literally stood behind a guy and basically they couldn't hear me.
Tap dancing, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, come on.
You do like a river dance down the street and she's like, no one will hear me. I'm like, yes, they will. You're wearing heavy boots. They will hear you, Mary Jane. Yeah. No. Couldn't get on board with them shoes.
No, I was, like, those missions in general, I was not a fan of. But,
no, I felt like the minute you were doing them, you were sort of out of the whole storyline, and I was doing something that I didn't want to do, and I felt like that was I got a similar vibe from Silver Lining, because all I sort of felt like I was doing was escorting. So it was like, escort this here, save this person, do this person, take this person over there, and I was like, well, hang on a minute, I haven't actually done anything other than go from A to B in one way or another. I haven't actually like done anything exciting. It was like, look for a bomb.
Yeah. Do you want to hear a shocking revelation from me?
Yeah, let's do it.
Is that I've not finished Silver Linings.
Oh, so I'm very sorry.
I think I have no urge to play it, which is really sad. But I just remember the first one, the black cat focused one.
Yeah,
I thought was quite enjoyable.
Yeah,
I thought that was. I liked the comeback of the missions where you have to follow her trail and stuff. That was like remind me of the Spider-Man 2 game, and I was like, okay, that's good. But then by episode 2, I was a bit like, this is a kind of a boring story. I'm not really into it. And you had the whole screwball stuff that really pissed me off.
I tell you, right, trying to get the platinum and having to do the screwball stuff very nearly like turned to a hair grey. It was so stressful.
And then I got to the third episode, and then I was the fighting Silver Sable up on the roof, and she like brought a ship to fight, and I was like, what am I doing here? This isn't Spider-Man. Like this is. So I got really fed up, and I've not gone back to it since.
Honestly, I don't blame you. It was. Cause I only picked it up really because it was and still is, I think, on sale, the season pass for like less than a tenner, and it it's worth that for the 3 DLCs. Like, they are great, and you'll get another like maybe 4 or 5 hours of gameplay or so, maybe a bit more. But more if you want to get all the screwball shit. So, and I was like, yeah, go on, we'll go back, have a little look, go with the DLCs, see how it goes. Just as you get further in, I was like, I don't really care. It's interesting with the police captain that you work with, Yuri. I was like, this is cool. I like where she's going, but then she kind of disappears, and then she kind of comes back, and then it's over.
And then she kind of dies. Does she?
No, she's alive.
She's alive.
She's alive. Maybe she's alive.
I'm sure she.
I think she's alive, but it's like the end of her career, and you're like, oh, okay. Like I thought, maybe she's going to become like a big bad guy, because of like a sort of taking her own justice kind of vibe. But then it just sort of didn't really focus on her anymore, and I was like, well, she's been there from the minute we started. And
I also really liked those two's their relationship in the actual main game as well. Yeah. Like their banter at the start was really nice and fun, and I thought she would become like a nice character to kind of really support and get behind. But
that's what I was like, because I enjoyed their interactions, and I liked that he gained her respect. And then especially as you go through the game and into the DLC, it's sort of there's a really fractious part of their relationship, and then it just is over. and you hang out with Sable instead, and Sable's not very nice.
No, Sable was like, I kind of liked her as like a mystery character in the main story, but then as she became part of the actual story and the DLC, I was like, you're not an engaging villain.
No,
Doc Ock was much better than you were.
and then she's not a villain because she's just trying to help her people, and I was like, well, really? Because you've murdered millions, so
yeah,
questionable.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah. Okay, so I was going to say, this has all been very positive, but there have been some negatives.
Yeah,
so we're going to turn that back. What was your favorite suit?
Oh, that's a good question. I did really like when they put the Raimi suit into it. That was quite nice in a nostalgic way. But I never played the game in that suit. I just kind of did the swinging around bit. I didn't do the story in that suit. I would say I spent most of my time in the Homecoming suit.
Nice.
I think because that was the most recent one, and I thought it looked really nice and clean as well.
Yeah.
But I did also like in the nighttime, especially. I liked wearing the Iron Spider suit as like a little, because I liked how the eyes glowed.
The glowy eyes, yeah. I liked using the spider legs to like. That was I got some good photo mode pictures with the spider legs out.
Yeah. They were that was really good. But then I never like explored all of the suits that much. Like once I got the power, I explored the power with my favorite suit.
Yeah, I loved that aspect. I thought that was really, really brilliant. Because I liked wearing the Raimi or the comic book original sort of cell shaded suit.
Yeah, that was a nice one.
Yeah, so I did a lot of the storyline like with them beautiful photoreal graphics and my little cartoon spider suit. But I loved that you could have any power relating to any suit with whatever suit you liked. I thought that was a really, really nice touch.
It made getting the suits an actual kind of target to work on, while not having to like restrict you to certain things. But like, if you're fighting a certain villain, you got to wear that suit. I'm like, that would have really restricted lots of people. And be like, I don't look good as this
in photographs.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like
because some of the suits were crap looking as well.
Some of them were. Yeah, they were not good. Like I never liked the one, I forget what it was called, but it was like the devil one when he had like a blue skull, flamey head.
Oh yeah, the othery one. Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, I was like,
did you see the Fantastic Four one?
No.
He wears
yes,
the
I
blue
did.
Fantastic Four
when he with the bag on his head.
And the bag on his head. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And the birthday suit's a funny one as well. I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I liked it wearing his uni t-shirt. That was quite cool.
Yeah. And the punk one is cute with his little studs in his head.
Yeah. There was like
really
I like the detail of that. Yeah, the detail of it was really good, where they like clearly have taken time to go through the history of Spider-Man, trying to like pay homage to all these different things. Yeah. And I was surprised that they took so long to add the Raimi suit in there, because that is such an iconic suit.
Yeah, I feel like I wonder if they were surprised at how. No, I was going to say, I wonder if they were surprised at how much of a sort of nostalgia trip it was to people who played number 2. But they had one of the lead designers who designed number 2, and especially the movement of number 2, playtest a lot of the game before they released it. So they must have had some sort of inkling that people would be like, give me those suits. Yeah,
and I think for probably lots of the people like me, really, they probably would have grown up with that suit as they're like, that's what Spider-Man looks like, That
was the first Spider-Man I ever watched, and it was that suit.
Yeah.
Back all those years ago.
I know, I was 10 when the first one came out.
What year did the first one come out?
2002.
I was 12.
Yeah. I think maybe I was even 9, because I think it came out before my birthday. So
this makes me feel even older. Like 3 years is totally fine.
That's fun. Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah. It is it's funny that you say it sort of reminded you of the PS2 version, because that was instantly what it made me think of. And I sort of miss some of the missions. Like I miss riding the top of the train and fighting on the top of the train, and like I think you used to have to collect little kids' balloons, and I was
my balloon.
Wish we could get the balloon challenge.
Like I've heard, I hear that voice in my dream sometimes when that kid is shouting, "My balloon!" balloon. I'm like, oh my god.
I have to get it. I have to get that balloon.
And I was like, Rhino's there, but the balloon's there. I'm going to get the balloon first.
I mean, what's more important? It's obviously the balloon.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm the neighborhood Spider-Man. I'm not the Rhino Spider-Man.
Yeah, you're not the zookeeper. Like, you got to get that balloon.
Exactly. But I also miss from that Spider-Man 2 game, I also miss the pizza delivery missions.
Yeah.
They were an absolute classic, and the music is still iconic to me.
Yeah. There's so many brilliant aspects of that game, and so many, like, painfully difficult aspects as well.
Oh, yeah. And I think that was probably my first experience of an open world game at that age. Like, even though the world is probably, looking at it now, very small.
Yeah.
But, excuse me, it's still, an impressive world to swing around. And the fact that it is all rendered, you can go anywhere at any point is really cool. And then you compare that to, like, how Spider-Man 1 was about 2 years before that Spider-Man 2 came out. I think maybe on the PS1. Like, that was literally like a small level-by-level approach to the game rather than the open world thing. Yeah. Spider-Man 2 was just revolutionary for so many different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 100% paved the way for this kind of game to come along.
Yeah. It's like one of those things. It's the game that, like, it redefined what a superhero game should be. I said that in a really weird way. But it's like, it feels like every superhero game is aiming to be like Spider-Man 2. And then it's like Arkham Asylum was a different kind of superhero game, and that then set its own standard of what a superhero game should be, But I think Spider-Man 2 was like the bar.
Yeah, because this Spider-Man PS4 is definitely sort of a good mixture of the two. Like, it's got a lot of that sort of Batman sort of combat feel, with the sort of PS2 sort of movement, and especially the sort of what was I playing recently? Was it Arkham Knight? I can't remember. I get them all mixed up. And there's so much movement in that, and there's so much, like, the city's so open, and again, you're sort of not really loading anything between going from place to place, and it's sort of that feeling of being like like 100 foot in the air, and you're just like flying around. That, I think, for me, is one of, like, the quintessential sort of like superhero bits of those two games.
It is. And I think what I remember loads from when I was playing Spider-Man 2 was climbing up to the top of the Empire State Building and just jumping off.
Yeah.
I did that repeatedly all the time.
Do you remember the one where you had to, like, swing from the Statue of Liberty, like, back to Manhattan? You had to go through, like, the rings or through the posts or something. Oh my god.
Nightmare. Yeah.
Oh, it was on, like, the little, like, flying things.
Yes, it was. Yeah, the drones and stuff. Yeah. It was hard.
Horrifying. That's going to haunt me forever.
I did the same thing on the PS4 version, where I found the tallest building and I ran to the top and then I jumped off.
Yeah.
And then what was also amazing was about Spider-Man, the new one, was when you jumped off, the way the music, like, swells up in your ear holes as you're, like, suddenly starting to fly. Oh god, incredible!
What a game, guys! What a game!
It is a great game.
What we're trying to get across here is what a game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's one of the best selling and fastest selling games that the PS4 have ever put out. So that alone, I think, is a huge testament to it.
It absolutely is. I remember the hype for it was astonishing. I'd never experienced the hype for a game like that for a long time. And I think right now, probably the hype is for maybe Cyberpunk is as big as it was for Spider-Man, potentially.
I feel like Cyberpunk's weaning as it goes. Yeah. But when it's like, we're 2 weeks away, then it's going to go massive again.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
I Spider-Man was like, loved it. Loved it.
Okay, the very important question then. How many Spider-Mans out of Spider-Mans would you rate Spider-Man PS4?
I thought about this a lot, and I don't think it's a perfect game. So I'm not giving it 5 Spider-Mans.
Good.
Because I felt like the MJ missions were a bit slow, and I also felt that Mr. Negative was a bit of a weak villain for the whole game.
Yeah.
And the DLC was also a bit disappointing. But I'm going to give it 4 Spider-Mans with like a Spider-Man leg as well. So
Oh, okay.
On the way into
Brilliant.
5 Spider-Man, but not quite there
Like
yet.
it. So 4 Spider-Mans plus a leg. That's a pretty good result, I think.
Yeah, it's a great score. Yeah.
It's a good score.
What would you give it out of curiosity?
I think it would get like a solid 3 Spider-Mans plus 90% of a Spider-Man, or 4.
Okay.
It's not perfect for me. There was a lot of things that especially running through it on like the hardest difficulty and doing like the combat challenges to go through the plat and stuff, that were tedious and sort of really drained a lot of the enjoyment. None of that was the movement. That was always amazing. Swinging around the city, beautiful, looks beautiful. I hated Screwball so much that it tanked my enjoyment of the 3 DLCs in a big way.
Oofed.
Oh, just to the point where I was like, honestly, please just stop.
Yeah. I'm with you. And also the fact that they were like actual like missions as well, to like you had to complete them to progress.
Yeah.
That really bothered me. Yeah.
And it was really ham-handed, and it was like, you shouldn't do this because these people aren't your friends, they're just your fans because you're online and they don't really know you, they don't really care. And I was like, oh god, we get it, social media is shit. Like we get it, like toxic.
I don't need that in my Spider-Man game.
Like leave me be, let me just catch balloons. Like I don't need this.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
So yeah, 3.9 Spider-Mans.
Okay, which part is it missing? Like, is it like a foot or like 3 toes?
It's his head.
Or
like, yeah,
he's missing his head. Wow, that's a big chunk.
Yeah, well, it's a full bit. It's been stripped off. Yeah. I would give it like a 3 Spider-Mans plus Jameson. So 3.9.
Okay. I respect it. Well, I will say, one of my favorite things about it, before, I think maybe like towards the end, but I did love playing it knowing that the Avengers exist.
Yes.
Like
with the
that
tower.
That was a really underrated element, because even though the heroes aren't in the game, just knowing that they are in this universe where in Spider-Man 2, maybe they will come into it, that was exciting to me.
Yeah,
and the fact that it was so MCU focused as well.
Yeah.
Like it was the same towers from Avengers, and it was the same Doctor Strange house as in Doctor Strange. So
yeah, the Sectum Sectorum.
That's the one. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I like the nods. The Easter eggs all worked really well for me. I thought they were really nice touches. I think it's got a lot of charm for everyone. Any kind of fan would appreciate.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
Unless you really hate Spider-Man, and then you're going to hate it because it's all about Spider-Man.
Who hates Spider-Man?
I don't know. Maybe
like especially in the current version.
When we make this video, maybe they'll let us know.
I mean, if this is on YouTube, we'll get hate comments, I'm sure.
Oh, like, that's how you know you've made it.
Exactly. So
bring it on. Please don't. That'll be really bad.
No. Yeah, not on the first video. I'd feel really bad for my I brought the tone of the episode down.
Yeah, he crashed and burned, my friends. Crashed and burned. No, I mean, this was a riotous success.
I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
Good. Thank you for coming on. It's been
anytime.
Had a good time. So, tell us about JumpCut. Where can we find you? Who are you? What do you do? And how did you get here?
So JumpCut it's been around for a good 4 or 5 years now. It started out in uni with our kind of fearless leaders, Jacob and Nick, and then it's kind of grown steadily since then. And it's become quite an exciting little project to be a part of.
Yeah.
Like we recently got out of Twitter jail, which was very exciting for us.
Oh, that was such a good day, my friend.
Oh man, what a day! But you can find us on Twitter at JumpCut_online. And there you'll find out you'll see lots of film reviews, game reviews, just kind of podcast stuff as well. All of our kind of communications on that Twitter, so please go and follow us there if you'd be so kind.
Yeah, and you got a good series of YouTube videos as well that will suit all sorts of different kind of folks.
Yeah, well, as we're on this episode, we've got Sam, who is our multimedia manager, and he's the leader of JumpCut Play. He is starting to kind of dip his toes into video essays, and we released one last week, which was about our history of gaming when it comes to making friendships. And it's really good video.
That sounds
it's a really
good
video. Like Georgie's in it off of the Valkyries. I'm sure you know her.
I know her.
But that's really good. So if you like your video essays, I suggest that. It's called Zombies Were My Best Friends, and it's just search on YouTube. I'm sure it'll be the first one on the list.
Yep, you'll find them in our subscribed list. I don't know if you can look at them, probably, but you'll find them from there. And yeah, definitely recommend that for our horror fans. Go and check it out. See about the zombies. Maybe find a new zombie game to play.
Yeah, maybe.
Grand. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I had a great time.
Good. It's been a pleasure. And check out all the other videos on the channel. We got some stuff about comics. We got some stuff about movies. There's a whole new host of horror stuff coming up super soon. And we'll see you again. Thanks, everybody. Ciao.
Bye.